Fox hunting has been illegal for over 20 years, but that hasn't stopped hunts from carrying on much as they always have. Many claim to be following pre-laid trails, but of course, as we know, trail hunting has been widely exposed as a cover for illegal hunting. So if hunting was really just about the social aspect, about riding across the countryside with hounds, why haven't all hunts switched to something like clean boot hunting? In theory, it ticks all the boxes. Riders still get their day out and no animals are harmed. So why hasn't this been the mainstream alternative? In this video, I'll break down what clean boot hunting is, where it came from, how many packs operate across the UK, and whether it's a viable alternative. So what exactly is clean boot hunting? Well, it's a form of hunting where hounds track the scent of a human runner rather than an animal. Unlike traditional hunting, which uses an artificial scent, clean boot hunting relies on natural human scent alone, meaning there's no involvement of wildlife and no risk of animals being chased or killed. Now, the practice isn't new. The first recorded instance of clean boot hunting in the UK is said to date back to at least the early 1900s, but it wasn't until the late 20th century that it became more structured. The most well-known clean boot pack is the Three Counties Bloodhounds, who have been operating since the 1990s. Let's take a look at what happened when Brian May visited this particular hunt a few years back.
Deepest part of Wales, and we want to make you feel welcome, as we do everyone. The Three Counties Bloodhounds is a welcoming hunt.
I want to know what the scent is. You've been very mysterious about this. I want to know.
You'll meet him shortly.
Okay. The running man. Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic.
When your children tell their friends in school on a Monday where they were the weekend, and let's just dwell on the reception we often get. Sometimes an awkward silence.
Byron sits in a difficult place. He tends to be abused by the public, and he tends to be abused by the fox hunters as well, because they see it as some of them regard it as a threat. But I think, hopefully in the future that won't be the case. Hopefully people will understand, and it would be nice if everyone, of course, from our point of view, moved towards humane activities. There doesn't need to be killing to have fun. And clean boot hunting is a kind of hunting where you don't chase a fox. What happens is there's a man, which we're about to see, this is education for me, there's a man who makes a trail with a scent, and these dogs follow. It's a human scent, it's not an animal scent, so there's no chance of these dogs chasing a fox by accident. If we can do a bit of publicity, give them a bit of visibility, it'll perhaps attune people to the idea that you can go out in the traditional way and have your fun in the countryside without the cruelty. So it's a great thing. For us, it's a very positive thing here.
So today there are around 10 bloodhound packs in the UK that follow human scent, compared to the over 250 registered foxhound, harrier and beagle packs that still exist. That's a tiny fraction. Given that the Hunting Act 2004 banned the hunting of live animals with dogs, you'd think more hunts would have made the switch. So why haven't they? It begs the question, if traditional hunts genuinely cared about the social aspect of riding horses with hounds, then clean boot hunting would have been the obvious choice after the ban. Yet nearly 2 decades later, the vast majority of hunts have basically refused to adopt it. So what does that tell us? Well, for one, it shows that most hunts were clearly never just about riding with hounds, because if they were, they would have been clean boot hunts in the first place. Let's not forget that essentially every single so-called trail hunt today was a fox hunt before the ban. But when fox hunting was made illegal, rather than embracing clean boot hunting, they clung desperately to trail hunting because it allowed them to keep everything in place, all the apparatus, while waiting for the law to be overturned. And you don't have to take my word for it. The hunting world literally admitted this at the time. Of course, I was only about 5 years old back then, so I have no memory of it. But in 2004, The Independent reported that The Countryside Alliance, the pro-hunting lobby group, is encouraging supporters to sign a promise to continue hunting and risk a criminal record if a ban comes into force. The article also quoted Eddie Braithwaite, who hunted with the Lonsdale foxhounds in Cumbria, saying on BBC Radio 4 that hunts are all set to continue. So it's fair to say that trail hunting has been nothing more than a convenient way for hunts to keep their foxhounds, hounds that have literally been bred and trained for generations to hunt foxes, ready for the day that they hope the ban is repealed. And let's be honest, many hunters, whether they admit it or not, quite enjoy the chase and the kill. The issue with clean boot hunting is that it removes that possibility entirely. There's no quarry, no frantic pursuit, no frenzied pack at the end. And for a lot of hunters, that of course takes away the thrill. Then there's of course the practical issue of all of this. Bloodhounds, the breed used in clean boot hunting, behave very differently from foxhounds. They track scent, but they don't hunt to kill. Even if some hunts wanted to switch to clean boot hunting, they'd face the challenge of retraining or replacing entire packs of foxhounds that have been selectively bred for centuries to hunt and kill, and most simply aren't interested in doing that. Now, this segment from BBC Points West backs up exactly what I'm saying, literally from the mouths of the hunts themselves.
February 2005.
We have in front of us a hideous kind of law.
The ban had just come into effect.
However, we will prove that this law is unworkable.
For years, there'd been protests and warnings of the effect it would have on the rural West Country.
If we fail, I lose my livelihood, my house, my 20 years experience working with foxhounds. It's all gone.
It would not just be civil disobedience. I can see civil war.
Others talked frankly about how they'd approach the new law.
If you're actually going to try and hunt a trail, some of them will do it, some won't. You know, the majority of them won't, because they've actually been bred for the last 300 years to actually hunt a fox. And you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
It's so ironic too that the show features an interview with the now infamous Jonathan Seed, who was, of course, barred from standing as a police and crime commissioner, stood next to a representative of the Avon Vale Hunt, who also have ended up being so blatant in illegal fox hunting that they were dispelled by the British Hound Sports Association. So despite all the excuses about tradition and the social aspect of hunting, the lack of clean boot packs speaks for itself. Traditional hunts have had almost 20 years to transition away from the hunting of wildlife, and they haven't. It's hardly surprising when you remember that they literally told us they would continue what they'd been doing for generations. Now, to my knowledge, not a single wild animal has been killed as a result of clean boot hunting, either deliberately or accidentally. It doesn't rely on legal loopholes. It doesn't put wildlife at risk. And the hounds are trained purely to follow human scent. But the fact that most hunts have outright refused to adopt it tells you everything you need to know about their true intentions. But is clean boot hunting the solution? Well, it depends how you look at it. In an ideal world, I personally think people should just leave all animals alone. We wouldn't be breeding dogs specifically for hunting or any other purposes, whether it's to kill wildlife or not. But I'm well aware, of course, that we're a long way from achieving this. In the meantime, it's quite clear that clean boot hunting is the best alternative when it comes to ensuring the least possible harm and suffering to animals. I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on this, probably more than any other video I've done, to be honest. Do you think clean boot hunting is an acceptable alternative, or should we push for a total end to all hunting traditions? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to read them all and to reply to some too.